Previously on Alaskan.
Extra, extra! Gold found in the Klondike. Read all about it.
Shortly after the discovery of gold in the Yukon Territory of Canada, a stampede of eager treasure seekers from all over the world started on their long quest to the Klondike.
Finally, that spirit just caught hold of America, and it was the gold rush that gave them that.
Leading the entire West Coast as the premier jumping-off point for the Klondike, Seattle was the first of the cities to see a glimpse of hope after a seemingly endless 5-year recession.
There's more to the Seattle history than meets the casual eye.
Now, more than a century later, Seattle continues to play an intrinsic role as a group of modern-day gold miners gear up for their summer in the far reaches of Alaska. It's late May in Nome, Alaska, and the ice-packed Bering Sea is just beginning to break. The Cripple River Mining Camp is a 2,200-acre property located 12 miles down the beach from one of the richest towns in the world, Nome, Alaska. Since 1982, men and women have spent their summer months exploring this gold-bearing land in search of riches. And this summer is shaping up to be no different. The first set of crew members to plane, and much like the stampeders headed for the Klondike, they are there to take care of business. Though smiles are abundant, each and every one of them is aware of the tasks that face them, as well as the time frame to accomplish such tasks before the mining camp they know as their summer home comes alive. While gazing off into the vast expanse of an unknown wilderness, all the while being fortunate enough to have secured passage north, only one thing was on the minds of the tens of thousands of men and women who traveled up the Lynn Canal in the late 1800s. Riches beyond their wildest dreams.
Gold was at a premium then, kind of like it is right now, and people were desperate, and gold was like the shining light.
The most popular route to the gold fields was by steamship up to the Skagway area. Then you've got an overland portion that you have to hike either 32 or 40 miles to Bennett, British Columbia, where you can get onto the Yukon River. From Bennett to the gold fields is 600 miles approximately.
Skagway, Alaska is a small borough at the end of the Inside Passage. It is nestled against a number of jagged and heavily glaciated mountains.
The coastal range of mountains in Alaska is kind of like a wall. There's very few places that you can cross very readily. But there are a few valleys and passes here and there, and that's where Skagway came into play.
Known as the gateway to the Klondike, Skagway acted as a base camp, while the stampeders worked tirelessly to transport their goods over the mountain passes.
They didn't know what they were getting into. All they saw in their eyes was gold.
Most of those folks weren't miners or outdoors folks at all, and then there they were thrust in the middle of nowhere having to fend for themselves.
Face it, I mean, they had a tremendous trip in front of them. Things were expensive here that they had to buy. They didn't know where they were going. They didn't know how to pan for gold once they got there.
A lot of folks thought they'd just be home in a matter of weeks, that getting to the Yukon was a simple thing. They just scoop up the gold with your bare hands, but The reality was, of course, far, far different.
Misery or agony? That was the choice needed to be made when deciding which of the two trails one would take, crossing over the mountain passes near the Skagway and Dyea area.
And then you'd have to have clothing that would keep you comfortable in as low as 70 below zero. And of course, you'd have your mining equipment with you, which was simply shovel, pickaxe, gold pan, and carpentry tools with which to build the boat, build a cabin, and build some rudimentary mining equipment like a rocker box or a sluice box.
Whichever route the stampeders chose, assuming they chose one at all, would take weeks, if not months, of round trips moving their ton of supplies.
The source of the Yukon River is about 30 miles from Tidewater at Skagway, but the biggest mountains in North America are blocking your way. I wouldn't want to carry 100 pounds up and down a mountain about 60 times over, you know, right?
For this reason, the majority of the stampeders did not make it any further.
Once they got here, they had another 600 miles to go, carrying over a ton of supplies with them. Not a lot of them made it up there.
By the fall of 1897, thousands of people found themselves on the beach of Skagway. Directly behind the human anthill, a town was emerging.
Gold. It has lured adventurers and dreamers for centuries. Its glimmer speaks of fortunes and unexplored frontiers. Imagine if you could be part of this grand adventure. Imagine if you could seek out your own fortune. With the Gold Prospectors Association of America, you can. When you join our ranks, you become part of a community that shares your passion for prospecting. You gain access to resources, expert guides, and exclusive claims. Whether you're a seasoned prospector or just starting out, our association offers a wealth of knowledge and opportunities. We host exciting events, offer education and training, and provide tools to help you strike gold. But it's not just about the gold. It's about the thrill of the hunt, the joy of discovery, and the friendships forged along the way. So, are you ready to embark on your own gold prospecting adventure? Your journey starts here.
The Cripple River mining camp has sat desolate for 9 months and is anxiously awaiting a visit from some old friends.
Right now, we're just getting all the tools necessary to fix anything that might go wrong on the way out to camp and get our hooches open when we get there so we have a place to sleep. We're not sure if this truck's going to make it out there, so we're also trying to figure out if we're going to bring all the luggage out at once or if we're going to split it up and leave some here.
Got a loose cable. The old trick to it. I thought I had some boots in me.
Although it's technically a highway, the stretch of beach from the town of Nome to the Cripple River mining camp can be impassable at times.
The beach in itself is a totally different all the time. I mean, when we first got here, we had big berms of gravel and rock and ice.
The hard-packed ice could be hidden under thin layers of snow and sand, making truck transportation not only difficult, but extremely dangerous as well. In knowing this, a few all-terrain vehicles are always stored in town. This ensures no time is lost waiting on Mother Nature.
When we first got here this year, we never know what challenges to expect. A lot of ice came up on the beach and it was a little bit rough getting the truck into camp.
When we first got here, we had ice up on the beach. It's a pretty hairy trip of getting out on the first trip.
It just everything changes up here.
Jim Boatman reaches the river crossing first and carefully analyzes a safe route across. The spring flooding can erode the river bottom, and if not careful, an ATV could swiftly be carried out to sea.
The ATVs made it across the river, and we were able to at least get here and start to get set up without any problems.
As the first wave of crew members arrive at the camp, the damage from the icy winter is assessed and everyone immediately gets to work.
When we first get here, the first things that we start doing is we get the containers open with the backhoe, and we get that thing running first, and then we start removing all the logs and the rocks and stuff that we've got in front of the containers to hold them closed for the winter.
That's kind of our job out here, is do all the background and get all ready for the participants to come out here and have a great time.
First on the list is power and water.
And then they want to get into the generator room, which is probably what we need to do first. Just get the generator going. That's the most important thing right there. We got to get that going.
A small crew place a pump in the Cripple River and begin thawing the well.
Well, I think it's going to come out pretty quick. Yeah, got to open up the generator. I got to find the right key though. They may not be in here. Time to go on a scavenger hunt. Now it's just wait until it thaws, 15 minutes maybe. Oh, finally got the keys to this thing, you know. There's the lifeblood.
While working to restart the camp's central generator, the opening crew noticed an unfamiliar sound.
Crack it up. Ain't got nothing to lose at this point. That is not a good sign. Holy, look at that. Oh, don't look. That's all rust.
The generator appears to be severely damaged, and without this piece of equipment, many parts of the main camp, including the kitchen, the truck shop, the fuel pumps, and the water system, cannot operate.
You know, with all the shops here in town, there's still a lot of selling to be done. So people are still making money here. Today we tend to call it the Visa Rush.
Today, Skagway can see up to 10,000 tourists a day during the summer months.
Most tourists, I find, aren't that interested in the history until they get here. And then they're like amazed at what happened in this little town and how the whole world was focused on here for just a few months.
Back in the fall of 1897 and continuing on for a few years, Skagway was anything but a vacation spot. The men and women that found themselves in that region of the world were there for business. Gold was their focus, and struggle their reality.
There were two ways of getting rich during the gold rush. You could dig gold out of the ground, that was one way, but that's a lot of hard work. Who wants to do that, right? The other way was to start a business or provide a service, that kind of thing. And there were people who settled in Skagway to do just that.
If I might offer some advice, if you ever find yourself in the middle of a gold rush, my advice is to open a bar.
When we come back, we'll see how one man took advantage of the masses. It did not take long for the town of Skagway to be seen as little better than hell on earth.
People were overcharging. It was a greedy time.
The lawless nature of the town suggested great opportunity for one notorious conman, Jefferson Randolph Smith.
You know, there's honest businessmen, and then there's dishonest businessmen.
He quickly organized the shadier element in town, if you will.
Come see the Days of 98 show live on stage with Soapy Smith, Alaska's most notorious outlaw.
He got his name, Soapy, from his scheme with selling soap.
I have a new soap. I have a wonder soap. Here is the finest cleansing agent ever brought forth by man's scientific ingenuity. The fruit of many weary months of research and experiment in my own laboratory. Use this soap upon your skin, and it will glow like the moon. Your face will shine with the radiance of 1,000 candles. Is that bald spot growing, sir? Use my soap, and the patriarchal locks once more will adorn your brow.
He'd wrap bars of soap in money, a $100 bill or a $50 bill, a $20 bill, and people would come and buy the soap for an outrageous price because they wanted to win the $100 bill.
I will sell you a bar from these I have already wrapped for the ridiculous price of $5. And you will have the privilege of choosing your own package.
But of course, his men were planted in the crowd and they would come up and win the money. And so everyone was trying to buy the soap.
He quickly sold out of his soap and quickly disappeared because he knew that all the people would be opening their soap and finding nothing.
Soapy was doing the same thing earlier, and he got kicked out of Colorado, and when he heard about the gold rush, or the discovery of gold up here, he made his way up to Alaska to take advantage of what was going on in Skagway.
No one really knew what to expect as they first stepped off the ship onto the beach of Skagway. Any communication in and out of this town to the rest of the world could take months. In all the confusion, Soapy Smith saw this lack in communication as an opportunity for power and wealth.
He had a famous telegraph that would, people would pay money to send messages home.
Tell them that you got here and you were safe, and they would telegraph back and say that, oh, well, maybe Johnny had just been run over by a horse and needed to go to the hospital and they didn't have enough money. And
people were told that they could come into his telegraph office and give their gold to the agent there, and it would be, quote, wired back to their home bank. Well, that never really happened.
You know, if they would learn something here in Skagway, if they would learn that you can't trust anyone or anything, well, maybe they would become suspicious of that telegraph company. Suspicious enough to follow that grand and glorious cable out of the back of the office, down over the bank, and into the Lynn Canal where it ends just past the dock.
He had a telegraph station with wires going out of the building and into the woods, and they were just tied off on a tree further up the hill.
It went nowhere, so no one was getting messages out of here.
Basically, he ran a very successful criminal syndicate here in this town.
The town of Skagway was in rapid development. While hotels and saloons were run by profiteers, many restaurants were run by men with icicle feet, whose fare consisted of only their required goods to enter into Canada.
And so a lot of people, when they realized what they're facing, they said, you know what, I'm going home.
Their dreams for riches were over before they began. These men were now only concerned with selling their goods to earn enough money for a ticket home.
We had our main generator go down. It apparently got moisture in it over the winter, and first fired it up, and we had sparks going everywhere, and it burned up the generator portion of itself.
The crew scrambles to find parts to repair the damaged generator. These parts could cost thousands, and worse, take weeks to arrive. They must now rely on the camp's old generator to start without complication and service a small part of the camp's power until the necessary parts arrive.
This guy right here is our backup, and this is our main generator.
Fortunately, we had our old generator still in service. We keep that up and running just in case things like this happen for backup.
We've added a lot of different things this year, freezers and stuff like this, and ice makers, which it all pulls a lot of juice, and it's getting to the point where we're probably getting pretty close again.
What do we have to order for this guy? Whole new unit, probably.
Not gonna be good.
No. Every year, our demand for electricity just gets a little bit higher and higher and higher, and we just have to keep upgrading.
Everyone at the camp anxiously has their eyes fixed upon the horizon. Word was sent that the barge carrying their food and supplies was in Anchorage a few days prior. Barge deliveries are, in a sense, life support to the small communities of western Alaska. Since this will be the first barge to dock in Nome after a long winter, not only are the crew at the Cripple River Mining Camp anxiously awaiting its arrival, but the entire population of Nome as well. Other than the random mechanical issues that arise, the harsh winter climate is definitely the largest adversary the Cripple River Mining Camp has to deal with. The tundra shifts as the permafrost melts, naturally causing damage to the buildings. The construction crew works tirelessly to mend these wounds.
Throughout the years, the floors all bag and sag, and the tundra, when it freezes, it lifts, and when it thaws out, it goes down. We're just trying to get the floors up, tie them to the wall, so that the wall and the floor, if it goes down, the whole thing goes down at one time instead of leaving a hole in the bottom.
It's quite a process, but we've got to sit down in just different stages so we don't run over each other.
Day in and day out, more and more crew members arrive, each and every one knowing exactly what tasks lie in front of them. The outer camps are sitting as desolate as they were left 9 months prior. It is only a matter of time before they are flooded with eager prospectors.
We're loading up, getting ready to head upriver to the outer camps, start getting things opened up for the participants. Toby's headed to the dredge, start things in operation up there, and Spike and I are going to head on up to Catchmark and get that put together and get it opened up, get the cabins cleaned out.
The select few assigned to these outer camps battle the trail and begin their opening preparations. Still to come on Alaskan. The much-anticipated barge is in sight off the coast of Nome. We'll continue to follow the crew as they prepare for a modern-day gold rush at the Cripple River Mining Camp. We'll also see what trials and tribulations are awaiting the stampeders of the Klondike Gold Rush as they make their way across the treacherous mountain passes. To continue learning about this great time in history, as well as extended content from today's gold rush, visit AlaskanTheSeries.com.